Hello my fashion lovers, welcome to today's tutorial. On today's tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to make an A-line gown with ruffles. And of course, you're going to add pocket to it. Please, if you have not subscribed, subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell to be notified anytime I post a new video. And do not fail to subscribe and keep watching my videos. I love you all. Let's go straight to the tutorial. To start the tutorial, I'll be cutting the front and the back. The front and the back, they are going to be the same. For the A-line gown, the front and the back, they are going to be the same. And to get the amount of fabric you're going to put on fold, divide your hip by 4, then put the extra allowance you want to have, how full you want it to be on the fabric. And now we are getting the waist measurement. That is the waist measurement, 17. For this A-line, you don't need under bust and all that. And for the bust point, I'm working with is 12 inches. That is the only measurement. And your full length, the full length and the sewing allowance, the full length and the sewing allowance. We won't be needing the hip, we won't be marking the hip measurement because we are going to be taking the A-line from the waist measurement, and that is the length. The length I'm working with is 41 plus 1 inch sewing allowance, that is 42 inches for the length. After marking that, you go ahead and mark your shoulder measurement. Mark your shoulder, you divide your shoulder by 2. Go ahead and divide your shoulder by 2 and mark out your shoulder measurement. If your shoulder is 17, divide by 2. And I'll be taking 1 inch shoulder slope. And after that, you go ahead and take your armhole measurement. And to get your armhole measurement, you can divide your shoulder by 2, then add 1 inch to it. That makes your armhole measurement. That is your armhole measurement. Then we go ahead to take the neck measurement. I'll be taking 5 inches because I won't be adding any zipper to this dress. 5 inches by 4 inches for the neckline. You go ahead and connect it and connect your shoulder measurement to the 1 inch shoulder slope. And that is it for the neck. Then we are taking the bust measurement. Go ahead and take your bust measurement divided by 4, then add your sewing allowance. On the waist measurement, you'll be taking your waist measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches sewing allowance, depending on the inches you want to work with. Go ahead and connect it. And from there, depending on how wide you want the down part to be, you can use your hip measurements divided by 4, then you add extra 8 inches or 5 inches depending on how wide you want the down part to be. And from there you connect straight. From there you connect straight to the hemline. What I have on this one is 22 inches. So when I open it up, it's going to be 44 inches because the person I'm making this dress was on the biggest size. Go ahead and come up by 1.5 inch and curve it so that you don't have sharp edge at the down part. And that is your A-line dress. A-line dress. The dummy didn't really show the A-line very well. Then you go ahead and cut. Like I told you, the front and the back are the same, so we're cutting it to be the same. You go ahead and cut it. If you have any question, ask in the comments section. I won't be putting any zip on this dress. The neck is wide enough to accommodate. Go ahead and connect your armhole and cut it. Go ahead and cut your dress. Just trying to recheck the length of the dress before cutting to make sure I have the accurate length measurements before cutting the dress. And that is our A-line dress. And on the waistline, I'll be coming down by 3 inches. That is where the pocket is going to be, and I'm going to notch it so that it will be easier to fix the pocket, to know where the pocket is going to be. Go ahead and notch it so that you know where you're going to fix your pocket, where the starting point is going to be. And that is it. And I'll be using facing for the neckline. I won't be putting any lining. I'll be using facing for the neckline. I'll be using facing. Go ahead and cut the facing for the neckline. To cut the facing, depending on how long you want your facing to be. The length I have here is 13 inches for the facing. Just make sure that where you're placing the neckline is facing the folded parts. The neckline where you're placing the neck should be on the folded parts. Then you go ahead and trace what you have so that when you open it up, it will be in one piece. You go ahead and cut it out. Go ahead and cut the neck. And the same thing you're going to do in the front, that is the same thing you're going to do at the back, depending on where you want the facing, the curve. If you want it to have a curve, you go ahead and cut it. But for me, I wouldn't be putting this curve, I'll just leave it straight. But if you want to put curve, you go ahead and cut it off, but I won't be adding the curve. Go ahead and cut off the armhole. And that is the facing. That is how you cut your facing. And you go ahead and place it on the right side facing right side, right side facing right side. Go ahead and sew it down, then turn to the wrong side. Right side facing right side. Go ahead and stitch the neckline and turn to the wrong side. And that is it for the facing. You stitch only on the shoulder, stitch only on the neckline. And when you are done, make sure you iron it very well. This is what you will have for the front and the back. And now you're going to join the shoulder. You're going to join the shoulder. You hold your fabric to fabric, facing to facing, and stitch it down with 1/2 inch sewing allowance, fabric to fabric, facing to facing. Hold it down, match it on the shoulder points, and go ahead and stitch it down. Now we're going to cut the pockets. To cut the pockets, I'll be using my hand to measure, because it should be able to your hand should be able to fit into the pocket. So I'm using my hand to mark. The opening, the pocket opening I have is 6 inches. That is the pocket opening that will be on the dress, is 6 inches. And the length I have is 7 inches for the length. You go ahead and make a curve. That is it for the pockets. Go ahead and make your curve. And when you're done with that, go ahead and cut it off. And you'll be cutting 4 pieces. You'll be cutting 4 pieces. At this point, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe, like, and drop your comments. You'll be cutting 4 pieces for the pockets. Using the same measurements. You have 4 pieces of the pockets. Go ahead and attach it to your dress. Go ahead and attach it to your dress, starting from the notched parts. And this is the ruffle. This is the ruffle for the sleeve. The ruffle I'll be attaching to the sleeve. What I have is 6 inches wide. And for the length, depending on how full you want the ruffle to be, you can cut as long as 40 inches, 50 inches. Then you go ahead and fold it. Fold the edges, gather it, take it to your machine, gather it and attach to your armhole. That is what I've done here. I went ahead to attach it to the armhole. And for the pockets, you go ahead and attach the pockets. Go ahead and attach your pockets. I'm going to stitch it down with 1/2 inch sewing allowance. Make sure that the right side is facing the right side. And do the same to the other side. Right side facing the right side. Stitch it down. The same thing you do on the front part, that is what you're going to do on the back part. Stitch it down with the sewing allowance. And when you are done, now you're going to shape your dress using your sewing allowance to shape the dress. You'll be starting from the bust, from your armhole. To shape the dress, you'll be starting from the armhole. Start from the armhole, take it down to the, from the armhole, take it down to the pockets and down to the hemline. Down to the hemline. Using your sewing allowance. And when you're shaping, make sure you maintain the A-line shape. If not, the dress will come out as straight. And this is the final look. The dummy didn't bring out the A-line part very well. Please like, subscribe and share my videos. And if you have any question, please ask in the comment section. Keep watching my videos and keep subscribing. I love you all. See you next time. Bye.